So I have a healthy lifestyle and fitness blog called Fit and Awesome.
Yes, I know. I was saying that is awesome. Fit and awesome is awesome.
We're fit and we're awesome. So
how cool is that? Like, that's everything you want to be.
Yeah, exactly. So I focus on just healthy living with an emphasis on the gluten-free and paleo diet.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Yeah, so that's actually how my site was born. I went gluten-free and didn't realize that you could really heal your body through food, and kind of decided to share my journey with everyone ever since.
Oh, that's neat.
Yeah. And, I saw that you have the 5-ingredient fix show, and, I try and cook with as little ingredients as possible. And my question for you is, for someone who's gluten-free and follows a paleo diet, what 5 staple ingredients do you think they should have in their kitchen or pantry at all times?
Oh, that's a good question. Well, Lindsay, this is one, it's actually, okay, I'm going to tell you about an ingredient I don't know a lot about, that I've actually just learned about, and it's called cassava flour. Do you know what that is?
I don't, but I'm interested.
Okay, so it's gluten-free. It's also really low on the glycemic index. And it's also, sometimes it goes by the name of tapioca flour or manioc flour. All 3 are the same thing, just different names. Cassava is the root that it comes from, and it actually it comes from Brazil. Now, I'm going to go ahead and tell you I never would have known this unless I read the flavor forecast that McCormick puts out every year, and they just released their flavor forecast for 2014. And what that does is it predicts the hot trends and new flavors and new ingredients that they're not new. They're just ingredients that you might not hear or know about or see even on your supermarket shelves, but they predict that these ingredients will become more of the forefront over the next 1 to 3 years. And cassava flour, one of the, I think probably the reasons that it's within the Brazil trend that they predicted to really come into the forefront of food is because cassava flour is gluten-free and that low glycemic index. So to have both of those, and that's something that, gluten-free is not going away. Like, it's changing people's lives. People are feeling so much better eating gluten-free, and I think that we're gonna start seeking out new ingredients instead of like the 5 staples. We're really looking for other ways that we can create gluten-free recipes, gluten-free dishes, and keep them tasting good, because I have to tell you, carbs are awesome. They taste delicious. So it's a hard thing to replace a lot of those flours that we already know the flavor of, that are recognizable to us. And how do you do that? And that's finding new ingredients, that are also as light. So for example, cassava flour can come in a fine mill or a coarse grind. The coarse grind mimics like a cornmeal, like a coarse cornmeal. And then the fine grind would be more of like, feels kind of like cornstarch, but it's what they make that Brazilian cheese bread with, which has no gluten in it. And it's bread.
Right.
And it's delicious. You just have to get a hold of some tapioca flour or a fine, as I said, it's either cassava, tapioca, or manioc, but a fine grind of that. And I don't know how you can get that. Order it on the internet, I guess?
Yeah, I'll have to look that up. That's interesting. Thank you.
Well, what's so cool is actually, as I said, that's really not even from me. I wish it was, but it's McCormick's flavor forecast. So, as I said, it's not, their forecast isn't just to talk about spices. It's actually to share the trends that are in food, what's hot, what's happening, and introduce people like me to these new ingredients that, as I said, are not new, but ingredients that are going to come into play that I can actually start to work with. Because, if somebody told me about cassava flour and I knew that I couldn't get it, that's not going to do any of us any good, right? But this is one that they forecast to be a big, big hit. So you might as well start playing with it.
Yeah, I'll have to check it out, because I'm currently using coconut flour, and I have to say it makes things very dry.
That's a tough one. It's also a temperamental flour to work with. I've also worked with that. I've been playing with the cassava flour since I learned about it. So that's actually under the trend of Brazil. I told you there's 5 different trends that they forecast with flavors underneath each of those trends. But Brazil is the leading trend has the cassava flour, and guava is in there. There's a couple of other amazing flavors that I'm learning about and playing with, like Bahian spice blend. But the cassava flour, I've taken that outside of that, and I'm working with it in all different ways. And I wouldn't have done that if I didn't read this. But I breaded the coarse one. I breaded chicken with it, so I can get like that fried crunchy taste. The fine mill, I tried to make popovers, and it's actually working much better than things like spelt or coconut flour or some of the other options that you might have tried. Corn is great too, but corn has a lot of sugar. So I think that this is a really interesting ingredient that, who knows? I mean, it very well may be the biggest hit faster than 1 to 3 years. It might be like in 6 months.
So where can someone buy it?
I have no idea. I would go online. You know, that's what's so neat about, as I said, this flavor forecast is not selling anything at all. It's just a gift for those, it's a gift of knowledge. It's a gift of a crystal ball image of what's happening in food and what's happening in flavor and inspiration for people like you and me that are looking to reinvent the wheel a little bit. And also take the old wheel that was working great, but maybe give it a little bit more air in the tire, you know? It's the fall wardrobe kind of highlights, and I love that. So it's a great gift to both of us who love food.
So how can someone get a hold on this flavor forecast if I want to go look it up?
So if you want to read, because as I said, I'm missing so many great ones. Cassava flour is just one of the wonderful flavors. But go to flavorforecast.com. You can read more about the trends, more about the flavors within each trend, and recipes to introduce you to the new ingredients and new trends and get them going in your kitchen. So for you, I would recommend a Brazilian cheese bread. It's got rosemary in it, and it's made with that manioc flour or tapioca flour, and I'm sure you can find that online somewhere. It's a really cool report that I wouldn't miss if I were you, because, I mean, who doesn't want to say I told you so one day?
Well, and also for the holidays, I think it's great because I think a lot of us gluten-free folks, that's really when we miss those foods the most, right? The foods like bread and cookies and cakes is during the holiday season, so being able to replace it with something like this or the cheese bread, I think that's great, so I'll definitely check it out.
Exactly, and it's a conversation starter. You can start talking about Brazil and start talking about all the other flavors that you're going to read about, you know, from everything from chilies to curries to charred tomatillos. You know, it'll definitely be the hit of your dinner party for sure this holiday season. But let me tell you one thing, to give back this holiday, I think this is the neatest thing. So we said happy birthday to McCormick, 125 years. For their birthday, they're giving us a present to basically say thank you for keeping them in business for that long. If you share your flavor story, so you told me that you started writing about being fit and awesome when you went gluten-free. So maybe talk about some of those flavors. Any story you have to share about flavor, if you share that at flavoroftogether.com, if you share your story, they're going to donate McCormick $1 for up to $1.25 million for every story. So you have that $1 for every story, up to $1.25 million. All that money is going to United Way to feed those in need.
That's great. I'll definitely share my story and encourage my readers to share their stories as well.
Great. Thank you so much. Good luck with that, with the gluten-free holiday season.
Thanks so much. Well, I'll definitely check out cassava flour.
Thank you.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye.